this morning. Y'all, I have been pondering a number of what ifs the last couple of weeks actually. You know how something comes to your heart and you chew on it and you just sit with it and meditate on it and it occupies your heart and your mind, um but it's not like you necessarily have a bunch of answers to those what if questions. Well, that's that. There's several things in the back burner with me, with Father and I that we're discussing. So those will be coming out in the next weeks to come. But this morning, one of the what ifs that I was pondering with Father is regarding the word surrender. In context of what does surrender, my question to Father was, what does surrender look like in terms of I am? Because religion has taught us, shaped our understanding of surrender and how that applies to us, to our person. Even the words that we use, like the word surrender, it shaped our relationship with God and that response, reaction, interaction of walking with Him. So, what if surrender is not defining a defeat or of a perceived enemy, right? What if surrender is not about defining a defeat over a perceived enemy or even giving up a battle? But what if surrender is all about divine recalibration? Interesting, huh? We've learned the word surrender to carry a tone of defeat of the perceived enemy, right? And we've been taught that it's the enemy, our soul, our mind, will, and emotions, a conquering of sin-driven desires of the soul. But in the language of spirit, surrender is not defeat nor a relinquishing of one's own power and authority. Surrender is a divine invitation, a release of a rest and a recalibration. That's what surrender is. Divine invitation of release, rest, and recalibration. The place where truth of our I amness is our singular expression in all that we are and do. And we've talked about, I mean, I can't get away from I am. I can't, I try. But everything goes back to I am. And the recalibration of our understanding of how I am is expressed. In Hebrew, actually, there's no single word that is directly translated as surrender. None. Not in the way we've learned it, not in the way we've been taught spiritually about it, or even in a devotional context. Now, there are several words in Hebrew that capture the essence, the idea of surrender, different aspects of it, facets of it, like the words yielding or giving over, submitting, or even forsaking, different aspects of the word we use or have learned to use as surrender. Yet all these words or ways that they're being used in the idea of surrender have a tendency to paint a picture of loss, giving up something, the end of control, of personal will, of choice, of strength, of even going so far as to leeching power or authority, diminishing sovereignty. And I think for me, that is the biggest one, the diminishing of sovereignty, because in our understanding of surrender, the way we've been taught, it has almost set us up subconsciously in a position of I have no control over my life or my world Whatever Father, whatever he's doing, I'm just going to kind of go with it. As if those choices that Father makes supersede mine or ours. But all of that is still from a place of separation, seeing Father as separate than myself. The ways we've been taught the word surrender has a tendency to diminish our connection with our own sacred self, with our own sovereignty, with our I amness, as if that sovereignty, that I amness is insufficient, is insufficient. But the word, the intention of Father's heart in the picture painted for the word surrender never, ever, not ever is diminishing. Never diminishing. So if there's any context within us in the way we've learned the word or the behavior or the interaction with Father from a place of surrender has any way diminishing your own self, your sovereignty, your oneness with Father, that perfect union that you are, then there is a wrong calibration of surrender. There is more likely a religious calibration of our interaction with Father in the context of surrender. Because surrender, from Father's perspective, is a divine alignment, a power filled, authority filled, sovereign filled alignment. Even with what we were talking about today, this morning, before we got started, even the floods that are happening here in Texas, our intention is divine alignment with what is in Father's heart and what creation needs to be doing, must be doing, regardless of what other avenues, intentions, plans, and purposes might be, might already be executed and implemented. Because Father supersedes all of that. And you and I are in Him, one with Him. Our sovereignty, our I amness is power filled for the realigning of all of creation. Divine alignment. That's what sovereignty is. That's what surrender is. Surrender is not to shrink, but to expand. Surrender is a radiant expression of I am, an eternal wave in the ocean of divinity. It's not giving something up, but remembering who you have never ceased to be, who you have always been. Just because our perception has possibly been something different than oneness, than when you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Just because our perception may have been different than that doesn't mean the realities of our I amness have shifted or changed, have been non-existent. It wasn't like our I amness came to be the moment our awareness awakened to that. No, it doesn't work like that. Father created us to be who He's created us to be, and it's always been that fact. It's just a matter of opening our eyes, the eyes of our heart, these eyes as well. So, back to surrender. There are 5 different Hebrew words that communicate the concept of surrender, because remember, in Hebrew there isn't an actual one word or a word that is surrender. And even with several ways of saying it, there's not a blanketed this is what surrender means. It's actually communicated in 5 of them, interestingly enough. The first one is the word Nathan. How about that? Nathan. And it means to give, to yield, to hand over. And I could be saying it wrong. Nathan. I'm just going to go with Nathan because that's my nephew. But it is a nun, tav, nun are the Hebrew letters there. And that word Nathan is used when someone gives something to another, hands over control. It's the act of placing something willingly into the hands of another. It's actually the essence of surrender, but not in the way we've learned surrender to be. It's not ripped from us. It's not creating a void within us, but a freely yielding something. A freely yielding something. Like, for example, here I am, Lord. I give you my will, my fears, even the fears of timing in my life, the timing of things in my life. In this place of I am, the awareness of our I amness, we realize that nothing was ever separate from Father. We don't give God our life like a transaction. And yet, religion in all of its forms have created that interaction as a transactional relationship. But that's not what surrender is about. It's not a transaction. It's not a relinquishing. It's an actual yielding to oneness, to the reality of oneness. Because you and Father, you and river merging into the sea. The reality part of have always been a part of. So that's Nathan, right? The second Hebrew word in the context of the realities of surrender is the word kana or kana. It's a kuf nun ayin. Kuf nun ayin. And that word kana means to humble, to subdue, to bring low, or to submit. Now, I know that we can hear all of those definitions and say, well, that pretty much lines up the way that I've always understood surrender. But this word kana is actually with the intention of to bow into the heart of your divinity. How many of you find yourself embracing wholeheartedly your own divinity without apology, without having to preface anything, or set the stage before you say what it is Father's asking you to say or do, just to make sure people around you are on the same page and receive you in a way that is uplifting instead of seeing you in a context of something other. Just asking questions, no condemnation, guilt, or shame. I'm not pointing fingers. But surrender is actually embracing your own divinity. This word kana is strongly associated with the idea of humbling yourself, but it speaks of a heart posture, not of the way we've learned humility, but the way Christ showed us what humility was. And how did he do that? Well, one of the examples is he went into the temple and turned over tables. Another example is he's standing in a courtyard and tells a whole bunch of people who are sitting there wagging fingers in accusation, well, she's already good to go. So any of you all that have issue, maybe you need to bring your own stuff to the table first. Cast the first stone. Kym's paraphrase. Right? Because humility, according to Father's heart and intention, is different than what we've learned that to be and look like. And that is surrender. Not forced submission, but a sacred bowing in from the majesty of Ahab, in and from the majesty of love. And that's powerful. Because we've always seen love as a certain soft attribute, but it's also very bold, very powerful, very direct and full of truth, without any hesitation to be and speak truth. This bowing is not submission from shame, guilt, condemnation, doubt, fear. But the bowing is a reverent alignment with I am, a reverent alignment with your I am nature. How different does surrender look when you see it from that perspective? A bowing to, a submitting to, an embracing of the reverence that our I am nature reigns in all we do, in all we say, in all we are. Changes a little bit the way we read then Psalms 25:9. He guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his ways. Because that's the word. That's the same word as surrender, the same alignment of your I am nature. In a powerful, bold, sovereign way. This bowing does not make you or I smaller. It actually awakens us to the vastness of our Father that we are one with. The infinite vastness of I am expressed through you and I, through our very life, the very breath of our life, and in every breath of our life. Truly, in this one little word, kana, surrender, bowing, our heart position of surrender is to lay down our illusions of ourself. Any illusion of lack, separation, needing to work on this, that, or the other, but allowing that realignment to be front and center in all of our ways of the divine flow. The divine flow of I am, the divine flow of oneness. This word kana in scripture is actually translated most times as to humble yourself, to humble oneself, but not in a self-deprecating way. It actually, the intention of it is to see rightly. Humble oneself, meaning to see yourself rightly. True humility is the heart's recognition that the light within you and I is the same light that spoke the worlds into being. My being is that light. Your being is that light. And the power of that breath is the very fabric of your existence that is ongoing. Nothing has changed about it. It wasn't diminished, it wasn't separated, it wasn't put in a dark place and snuffed out until one day. It's always been that breath and light, that frequency, the actual essence of Father. So the word kana for surrender, to bow, is not a bowing beneath a deity's gaze, a deity's choices, a deity's intentions that we may or may not agree with, but it is actually an alignment of ourselves in that oneness. It says it beautifully, Colossians 1:27, Christ in you, the hope of glory. That's a great example of it. Christ, part of us. I am the Christ. Psalms 82:6 says, you are God's and all of you are children of the Most High. We read a verse like that and we think children as in offspring separate from me. They have my DNA, but they're a different being than I am. That's the best context in human terms that we have for the understanding of our I amness. But in reality, oneness is oneness. When you've seen me, you've seen the Father, is just what Christ said. And sometimes those concepts, those realities of our I amness are hard to grapple with in our understanding because we're looking at it through human terms, through human substance, right? Now let's look at the third word for surrender. We're talking about surrender. Masar. It's a mem, samek, resh. Resh is one of my favorite letters. I mean, well, all three of these are actually the top of my list currently. Currently. Mem, samek, resh. And this word masar means to deliver up, to entrust. Now remember, we're talking about surrender. To deliver up, to entrust, to give into another's hand. To give into another's hand. So the whole idea about this word masar in context of the word surrender means to entrust yourself to the divinity within you, the eternal now that you are. Let me say that again. Does that sound like surrender? The surrender you've learned? To entrust yourself to the divinity, in the divinity you are currently, always have been, in the eternal now. That's the word masar. That is the word for surrender, for the ideas of surrender and what actually that word means. This word masar is most closely related to the idea of relinquishing control or entrusting yourself. I'd like to add, not just entrusting yourself to another, but trusting yourself. Trusting yourself. And I think oftentimes, because of the way we've been taught, that is one of the hardest things for people to do, is trust yourself. Am I making the right choice? Father, what do you want me to do? I'm waiting for the Lord to open a door. Trust yourself. It's the word used when something is entrusted into another's hands. It carries a weight of faith, actually. To surrender is to entrust your being, not only into the hands of God, But trust yourself with yourself. Trust yourself with your choices. Trust yourself when that little voice speaks that you move with it instead of going, I don't know. I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is right timing. Trust yourself. This is actually the cry of the heart of surrendered sons and daughters. Not from a place of I give up, I can't do it anymore, or I'm going to give into somebody else's choices or decisions, but a powerful place from oneness, a powerful place from empowerment, authority, a realization. And it's not just an entrusting yourself with another in God's hands, but it literally is trusting yourself in that place of oneness, that you and Father are one, making decisions, choices, moving throughout your life together in all ways. And there is an assuredness, a confidence that comes when you live from that place. You're not handing yourself over to someone or something outside of yourself, even if it is God or your understanding of God. It's not like that. That's the context religion has taught us. From the place of Father's heart, surrender, this word, masar, is a place of understanding the deepest parts of your existence, of your being, your I amness, that is always moving in perfect synchronicity and union with Father. Because even if you see yourself handing yourself over to Father who is outside of you, there's still a misunderstanding of the realities of not only surrender and what that means, but your oneness in Father and how the beauty of that moves in power and authority. Relinquishing the ideas you've had about God and yourself, relinquishing those ideas in this place of oneness, of divine union. This word masar is also has a connotation of entrusting the ideas of your limited self to the realities of your infinite self, because you're not limited. You're not limited. And any framework, let's say it like that, any framework of surrender that has communicated a place of limitation, minimization, is false. And we're just going to break them open today. Because this word surrender from Father's heart and intention is an expansion, is a place of allowing the infinite I am expressed and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to surrender into it, to actually explode out of it, giving yourself to it, to the realities of I am. It's not an abandonment of all your power, your choice, your authority, but an actual integration of them. An integration of them. The fourth word, azab. Again, we're talking about surrender and the aspects, the facets of the intention of the word. Azab is in with the Hebrew letters, Hebrew word, The Hebrew letters are Ayin, Zayin, and Beit. Ayin, Zayin, and Beit. And this word azab means, listen to this, to forsake, to abandon, or to leave. Now, don't all three of those refer to the way we've understood surrender, right? If you were to take it at those meanings. But that's not the context, that it's the intention of it. It's to let go of what you are not. Anything that does not manifest I am. Father's nature and character, anything that does not manifest I am. We talked about it just a little bit ago. Yeshua said it like this: the enemy and I have nothing in common. False identity, false framework has nothing in common with me. Not just me personally, but has nothing in common, cannot dictate the framework of our world. The only way it does and can is if I give it permission to. Whether it's the world that I see or this world. Because anything that is not I am is a false identity. So surrender, azab, is a letting go of all of that false identity. Anything that does not manifest, does not have the sound and frequency of I am, has nothing in common with me. Can't exist within me. Has no place within me. So azab is an invitation to release or abandon all of that falseness. Because it has never been our identity. It's never been the reality. My name is Kym. My parents named me Kym when I was born. I could call myself Rachel. But on my birth certificate, it says Kym. Right? Not in the same way as neglect, this word surrender, azab, but in the way we must release what we no longer serve, what no longer serves us, what we are no longer allowed to create those limited spaces and places of our own I amness, holding it in check so as not to cause offense or not to be too much for people. That's azab. Surrendering to the release of what no longer serves. What does that look like, to surrender to the release of what no longer serves I am? Because it looks like something. It looks like something. It is a letting go of what I think I need to receive what you and I have already been given, what is already a part of us. Right? It's a release of illusion. Azab, that word for surrender. It's a releasing of illusion, a releasing of masks, a releasing of striving, a releasing of all the exhausting searching for worth, a releasing of all the exhaustive searching for worth. To surrender, the word azab, surrender in this context, is to release the false self and remember that you and I have already held, we're already whole, we're already and always have been the expression of I am. That is surrender. That is surrender. The eternal you arising. The eternal you. Do you realize that you've never been lost? Ever? Not ever? Not even before you went through the thing that we call in Christianity is coming to know Christ. You weren't lost before that moment, just FYI. You weren't. How could Father be lost from himself? I mean, really. The infinite one, the one that really truly has no name. The expression of the one in whom you are. How could he have ever been lost? Good question. Let's move to the fifth word for surrender. It's the word shalom, Shalam, shalom. It's actually where the word that shalom comes from, shalom. It's a shin lamed mem, shin lamed mem, shalom. It means to make peace, fulfill, or complete. Or Kym's language, thing broken. This word shalom implies a yielding to wholeness or reconciliation, a yielding to wholeness, bringing peace to make complete. It's actually the intention behind it is wholeness being revealed and expressed. Okay, wait a second. Wholeness being revealed and expressed. Is that what we've been taught surrender is all this time? Not really. But now we know. Wholeness revealed and expressed. This word shalom is speaking about the place where your strength is unveiling from within you at a continual place, expansion. The unveiling of divine strength from within you, divine peace from within you, divine wholeness from within you. That's what surrender looks like. Shalom or shalom isn't merely about peace, but about wholeness expressed. Not a place where wholeness didn't exist and now it does because of all the activity in between. No, 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 no. It's about the reality of wholeness is there, has always been there. And now I'm realizing it, seeing it, and unveiling it, allowing it to expand out of me. It's literally an entrainment or resonance with divine, with the heart of Father, with divine frequency. Of what? Of Ahab. The place of truth. Capital T. Not my truth, but truth himself. This word surrender, this word shalom, is the presence of union. The awareness, the confident assurance of presence of union. That you and I exist continually, perpetually, infinitely in and from the expansion of union, the expression of union. The place where union overshadows anything else that has tried to communicate separation. Oh, union, oneness, I am overshadowing everything else that communicates separation, death, destruction. And can I say this? Oh, we can practice it too. What does resurrection look like in the heart of surrender? In this heart place of union, surrendering to union, being a part of, confidently, divinely a part of the power of union. John 14:27 says, peace I leave you. This word peace here is the word shalom. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you, not as the world gives. Not as the world gives. How does the world give peace? Well, the world gives peace from a place of, oh, I can't do anything about it. It just is what it is. How many of you have heard that word, that phrase? It is what it is. I would like to suggest that's probably the false definition of surrender. Because the way Father sees surrender, as we've talked about, is this place of, pardon me, leaning into being the manifestation of the nature, the I amness that all of creation is longing for and needs. Entrusting yourself to the divinity that you are, the eternal divinity that you are. Trusting yourself with that. This that we've talked about is the rest of God, the actual rest, that place of rest, not from inactivity, not from a place of, I'm just surrendering to Father. It is what it is. But an undivided presence of I am. That place where you and I live from the I amness of our union, of oneness, and bring everything, including ourself, releasing it into that framework. Surrender is not a moment. It's not a moment. It's not an event. It's not an event. It's an actual flow and movement of I am. The unraveling of illusion and the unveiling of truth. It's the remembering you are the body shining for Father's glory, of Father's glory. Divinity embodied. Right? You and I am the sacred flow of Father, of divinity.